Countdown Conspiracy, Chapter 18, Part 1. The betrayal stings like 10,000 volts. I don't want to believe it, but the man on the screen isn't denying anything. Mr. Burnett, why would you do this to us? I ask. Raheem's eyes have steeled over, and I can see his knuckles going white, gripping the side of his chair. I reach for Ruby, trying to make sense of this. Why would you do this to us? Ruby repeats on my droidlet, hugging me back. So you know, huh? Mr. Burnett sighs, crumpling a little where he sits. Well, then you should know that I didn't want to do any of it. Not really. What's that supposed to mean? Tamaki asked. Did someone force you into this? Was it Dr. Schuber? Dr. Schuber? Mr. Burnett asks. No. Oh no, he would never. He's not? And then it hits me. Horrified, I feel like the biggest idiot to have ever lived. It's so obvious. Mr. Burnett worked for Valor Heart Industries. The pieces fall together in my mind. They're a weapons manufacturer, and they lost tons of money when the war ended. Except now, war is probably starting again, Esteban says miserably. Exactly. You were never really fired, were you? I look at Mr. Burnett. He grimaces. Then his eyes track up toward the cockpit door and go a bit wide. Oh, hello, Anna. Enjoying your role as mission commander? I look back. I hadn't realized she'd come in. I wonder how much of this she's heard. Anna crosses her arms. Move it. Clearly she's heard enough. You're trying to get a war started again, Raheem accuses. You have to understand, Mr. Burnett starts. All I wanted in life was to be Dr. Schuber's student. That's all. I thought if I could work under the head of the ISECG, I would have really made something for myself. But I was rejected until Valor Heart offered me a way in. They needed someone on the inside, I realize. Yes, Mr. Burnett's eyes are pained. They did, but it wasn't supposed to be like this. All I was supposed to do was set up a few Mars nominees, but then Valor Heart kept asking for more and more. Miranda being a target. It's all your fault, Tamaki gapes. Is that why I haven't actually been killed yet in any of the attacks? I ask, shaking. Because you've needed me alive as your puppet to make the Americans and Russians fight like they did during the AEM war? We had to get people angry, Miranda, Mr. Burnett explains. We had to get people angry, Miranda, Mr. Burnett explains, using the same tone of voice he'd use when he'd help us with our programming homework. Valor Heart had to give the world a reason to buy their weapons again. But people are dying. Esteban's eyes are wide. Why would you let that? If this was a plot for Miranda, why target me first? Raheem interrupts Esteban, leaning forward. It's an intensity I'm not used to from Raheem, but I can't really blame him. Mr. Burnett runs his hands over his face. So much of the war played out on the fringes of Russia and China, and then the Indian-Pakistan conflict got roped into it all. We weren't sure who'd be the bigger international spark. You and Professor Singh's cousin, Deepa Kaur? Dr. Singh is related to Deepa Kaur? I know her, Najma exclaims. Or Miranda and Vladimir Kreshkov's nephew, Sasha Oskev, Mr. Burnett finishes. We had to test the waters. Miranda definitely won. Raheem recoils. We catch each other's eyes, and in that moment, an alternate version of the past few months races through my head. Raheem as the focus of the attacks. Raheem getting the threatening messages. Raheem as the ostracized cadet. My stomach churns. Everything would have been different. Except that we'd probably still be here, floating to our deaths in the end. You're a sick human being, Anna hisses. Mr. Burnett shakes his head violently. I swear, I didn't want any of this. If you don't like this, you should turn yourself in, Esteban glances desperately around at all of us. Tell everyone what's been happening. Stop Valor Heart Industries. You can do it, Mr. Burnett. You can save us all. Mr. Burnett looks down. I can't. Valor Heart can't know that I've said anything. They will kill me. And right now, that means killing everyone here, including your families. The Hellijets that brought your families are all Valor Heart made. One of them is filled with explosives, enough to take out the whole island. My chest freezes. We're on lockdown, Mr. Burnett exhales, closing his eyes. No one can leave. That, unfortunately, includes me. No one knows about the bombs, and if I say anything, they blow. Beads of sweat glisten from under his matted hair. They also blow if you send any communications outside of this channel. Valor Heart asked me to program your comm systems to go through their headquarters, but I programmed them to go through me instead. So don't try anything sneaky. If you mess with the systems, Valor Heart will be alerted and will find out what I did. They won't like that. So you're just going to sit there? Anna asks. Mr. Burnett grimaces. It's my only option. I'm in too deep now. You have to believe me. I did what I could. At least I made sure you'd be able to survive your launch, and I even programmed your ship so you could get to Mars. I thought even if everything else was getting destroyed, it might be at least an okay consolation prize. No one says anything, and Mr. Burnett looks at me, dabbing the sweat off his brow. I tried to warn you, Miranda, he says. I did as much as I dared. You were supposed to figure it out and leave before Valor Heart could use you. But I guess that didn't happen. Mr. Burnett looks over his shoulder again. I'd better go before anyone finds me talking to you. I'm sorry. To all of you, I'm so, so sorry. Try to enjoy Mars for me, okay? With a trembling hand and tears in his eyes, he ends the call. So it wasn't the fault of any country at all, Tamaki says, sitting down in his pilot's seat and strapping himself in. The attacks were coordinated by an international corporation of greedy jerkfaces. Why am I not surprised? My brain spins like a loose bolt. Mr. Burnett sent us away to die. He could have saved us, but he didn't. He tried to warn me, but there's no way he could have expected me to figure this all out from his messages. No way. He sent us away to die. We have to get back and set things straight, Najma says. He sent us away to die. You know, if we go home, land secretly, and tell people in person, then it won't be a transmission, Raheem muses. I can find a way to get those bombs deactivated without Valor Heart knowing. Then the bad guys get caught and our family stays safe. Way ahead of you, Tamaki sits at his console, tapping away. Miranda, you have those figures finalized? I pull my brain back from the edge of shock and sit down at my station. Time to get this right. I will momentarily. So I guess this makes going home official? Anna clarifies. I just give her a look. My finger hovers over my keyboard. This is it. And fire engines, I say. Firing engines, Tamaki replies. I hold my breath. The engines roar, rattling us inside the spaceplane. I grip my armrests. Please work. For a terrifying 11 minutes, our spaceplane slows down amidst a headache-inducing level of noise. When it's finally over, my ears continue to buzz, but I can't help but accept Tamaki's fist bump. We've stopped along the vector that matters. Now to actually turn the spaceplane. Nice work, everyone, I say. All of us let out sighs of relief, except for Anna, who opted to stay out of the main cabin during this phase. Tamaki, how are the solar panels looking? We'll need them for the last 18% of our energy reserves, remember. Tamaki grimaces. Not so hot. They're stuck. Stuck? Raheem asks. Tamaki nods. Stuck. They won't unroll. It's an electrical short, I think, outside the ship. Outside? I shudder. That doesn't sound good. In fact, that sounds horrible. Fixing something outside would require... Wait. Could Ruby fix it? They're huge. She won't be able to maneuver them and adapt for when one inevitably gets jammed up. unless you've installed some serious programming in her that we're unaware of. I rest a hand on the robot attached to my chair. No. Right then, that means someone has to go out there. Tamaki stares at me, his eyes sparkling in a way mine are definitely not. And we're the only two with space-ready spacesuits, I say. Which may or may not actually function properly, Tamaki finishes, grinning at the prospect. I shake my head at him. Everyone else is silent, and then the back door swishes open. So we've stopped, I see. Anna pulls herself in. And I trust that now you all have a master plan for taking us home. Working on one, Raheem clarifies. There's a small glitch. Great, Anna rolls her eyes. Whose fault is it? No one's, Najma says. It's just that the solar panels won't unfurl. And someone has to go out to fix them, Esteban adds. But that's either Tamaki or Miranda. Anna shrugs. Obviously, it should be Miranda. I cross my arms. What? Why? Esteban puts a hand on my shoulder. Tamaki has way more experience with solar. Tamaki is our pilot, Anna interrupts. He can't be risked. Miranda can. You can't just say that, Najma gasps. No one can be risked. Then what do you propose we do? Anna asks. If you're serious about going home, obviously someone needs to go out there and fix this thing. Yeah, me. You know, solar car guy, Tamaki begins. No, Anna cuts him off. If we're going to Mars, I'm not dying because one of us screws up piloting our way back. I'm still technically mission commander, no matter how many decisions you're all making without me. And I say we need you in here. Miranda is the only option. I lock eyes with Anna. Aw, come on, Tamaki pouts. I want to do the spacewalk. It's okay, I say. I'll do it. Tamaki, you just need to walk me through it. This is totally unfair, Tamaki says. Why do I have to be stuck in here when... Oh, wait. Ha! He slams a fist into his head in triumph. You're going to need a partner with solar panels this size. It's going to take 2 sets of hands out there to even them out. Anna shrugs. She's got that robot. Human hands, Tamaki clarifies. He beams as Anna fails to come up with a response. So it's settled. I'm going too. Wait, Najma says. Anna has a point. Tamaki, we need you in here flying this thing. But then who's going to? Anna. Najma answers before Tamaki can even finish his question. Anna's about the same size as you. She can wear your EMU. She can be Miranda's assistant. Anna's eyes fly open, and mine do the same. Oh, no way. That's completely unnecessary. Totally out of the question. Not going to happen. Oh, stop it, both of you, Najma says. Anna and I fall silent. We need this space plan operational. And if that means 2 people out there fixing it, then that means 2 people out there fixing it. Whether or not you like each other, and you. She spins at Tamaki. This isn't about being cool. Grow up and do your job. Everyone's quiet now. There, Najma says. Now let's get this space plane fixed. As I snap my gloves in place, I have to admit, I'm actually excited to try this whole spacewalk thing. Terrified, but excited. And also pretty pumped that I'll get to test out Ruby's rocket thrusters. But, of course, I can't say any of that out loud. Tamaki's the one putting my helmet on for me, and his bottom lip pouts worse than Emmeline's when she's not allowed to play with my robotics equipment.